Good afternoon. My name is Gra Singleton. I live in Garner and I'm running for a seat on the Garner Town Council. I've been here almost all my life, since 1964, and so I grew up here, so I love almost everything about the town. It's always had this people like to say, a small town feel, neighborhood charm, neighbors know neighbors. The fact that people know one another, you run into one another at a store, grocery shop, in a drugstore, hardware store. People are friendly and nice and always willing to help one another out. First ran many years ago, and just was always interested in government when I was younger. This sounds weird, but long before computers, I would read the encyclopedia, and I got hooked up on the one on presidents and read and learned a lot about the presidents and government, and I've always been fascinated with it in U.S. history, and so that's part of it. And then living here, we had a newspaper or newspapers in Garner, so you could always read about what was going on in town, and that really spurred a lot of it. And I worked at a local hardware store for almost 18 years. So you got to know so many people and hear so many things, and it's just encouraged us and people to consider running. Things, I've been an advocate for parks and sidewalks. Back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, sidewalks weren't priorities. And as time changed and people said, hey, we'd like to have sidewalks, and I really became a big advocate for that. We didn't have a master sidewalk plan until 1999. Parks, I've been a big proponent of parks. The new park on Garner Road called Jurgen Park, I talked with the owner about 15 years ago and said, hey, if you ever whenever you decide to sell that property, how about let me know, because I think it'll make a great park. And he thought I was crazy, and now we're building a park there. Those two I'm very proud of. Something, this is really boring, but we did the water sewer merger with Raleigh back in 2001, 2002. And Garner had the highest utility rates in Wake County by far back then. And without the merger, we wouldn't be having this discussion, because nobody would want to be here because our utility rates would be so high. So that merger, while boring as it is, was a huge, huge game changer in Garner as far as economic development. The three things we're going to have to face is, one, because of the increasing cost of infrastructure, how are we going to pay for our capital improvement plan? We've got a 5 to 10 year plan out right now that's $89 million, but it doesn't include several large projects, including a new public works facility, another fire station, stormwater repairs. We're going to have to do some extensive stormwater repairs. Some of our subdivisions are over 50 years old, and we're preparing with that now with 2 different studies the second one's being concluded right now. So how are we going to pay for that? I mean, you can't just raise your taxes and pay for everything. That just will not work. Second is housing, affordable housing. Another thing you can't build yourself out of. You can't just keep building and thinking, okay, we're going to build affordable housing and build our way out of it. The town's going to have to, I think, get a full-time staff member to work on affordable housing, and also a neighborhood manager, someone who can work with existing residents, maybe some older residents who can't afford the repairs, want to stay in their home. And we have a partnership already with someone with that. We have $100,000 in the budget this year, but right now the projected needs are 18 homeowners for $360,000. So we're going to have to do a little bit more there. But that position will have to work with, when you have an apartment complex, we had one about 9 years ago that just got sold, and everybody had to be out in 30 days. And that was affordable housing. And we're going to have to work with developers with incentives and tax credits, and maybe the town provides some gap funding to help keep those affordable units to be affordable units. Third, we have to continue to be aware of our budget. I voted against the last 2 budgets. This year there was no tax increase, but last year was an 8.5-cent tax increase, and I voted against it. I think we have to be very conscientious about the effect it's had on people. I'm an NC State grad, so I like NC State sports. I have season tickets to football, men's basketball, and women's basketball, so I really enjoy that. I've always enjoyed planting plants. We have lots of plants in our yard. My wife and kids always tell me to cut back, and I've cut back, but I still got plenty. I enjoy doing that. Sure do. When we get the chance to go on vacation, it's nice to have, I got 2 daughters and a son, and when we all get together, it's nice. That's harder and harder to do with work schedules, and one in college, the youngest still in college. But spending time with them, and I like old movies. I like watching Turner Classic or any of those old movies. I've sold Meals on Wheels since 1999. Matter of fact, I did my Meals on Wheels right today for the month. I do a week, a Thursday, and my wife does a Thursday. People always say you shouldn't approve this or you shouldn't have approved that until you fix the roads. Well, many of the roads, major roads, are DOT roads, and DOT's not going to do the roads unless the traffic's already on them. So it's tough. It's a challenge. And DOT dollars are hard to get also, especially in Wake County. Everyone in Wake County has grown or is growing or will continue to grow. And so getting those improvements is a tremendous challenge. Getting 540 open was really nice. And now they're already working on the last loop over to Nightdale. Commercial development is a little bit different animal because it depends on where it's going to be, because this usually going to be by a main corridor, and they're going to make them do a lot of improvements. Like when Amazon came, they were required to put a substantial amount of improvement in. That's a little different animal. But you have to kind of have a plan. We have a transportation plan, we have a pedestrian sidewalk plan on, long-range plans. We do have bus service in town. Matter of fact, near our office, there's once the top of the hour, that's where the buses come up going the opposite ways in the route. They park right across the street from one another. So it's helpful. I think over time, what's going to happen with the bus service is that I think they may evaluate it like some other towns in North Carolina have done, like Greenville and Wilson and Kinston, and may go to shorter buses or smaller buses. I'm not sure. But you want to try to get buses that can go where people are, especially if you have a dense development. The VA clinic just opened in Garner in the last month. They closed 3 existing VA clinics in Raleigh, and that there's 20,000 plus patients already down there. One reason was where it is access to 540, but we've also asked that they try to work a bus route down there, because you got people in downtown Raleigh who are not going to get on 540. That's not the way to travel there, and so that's something we've looked at. And the bus service does work. We have a homeless ministry here on Saturdays, and after it's finished, 12:30, 1 o'clock, one of the stops is right out here in front of the building right beside the church. And you might go there a couple times and be 15, 20, 30 people out there waiting to head back towards Raleigh on the ones that have to take the bus. So mass transportation is important because not everyone has a car, not everyone can afford a car. We have a affordable housing task force, AHTF, and based on some recommendations, we are restarting that back up after getting some information from the Central Pines. And we got some numbers like what you told us, and that's where we need to consider hiring someone who can be on top of things. If an apartment complex which is affordable may be sold, can you get someone to help buy it with credits? Does the town do some budget funding? That's a challenge. We partnered with 177 apartment complex on Creech Road, Trine Point, through tax credits. Across from that, there's 97 houses, I think, and then there's one that's like 295 Habitat for Humanity projects. So we got 400 Habitat for Humanity project homes coming, and that's important. There's something we do in our meetings at the very beginning of the meeting too, not at the end like many towns. We do have a public comments. People have 3 minutes so they can talk on anything that's not on the agenda, and people can come in and express their opinions. And so people are allowed here to do that. Again, it's not at the end of a meeting, so you don't have to wait 4 hours to talk. It's within the first 10 to 15 minutes, unless it's a long presentation to begin with. So that allows people to come in and have let people know what's going on. We've had some people who are very active in the affordable housing community, and they take advantage of that when it's not on the agenda, and will come and speak, one maybe for 3 minutes, maybe 2 for 3 minutes, and just express their concern. So you let people, give them their time. I was always against the 3 minutes because I thought people should get the chance to talk, but sometimes when you have a meeting and 8 or 9 people want to talk, the 3 minutes comes in handy, and we don't cut the microphone off. He gets close by, and the mayor says, "Hey, you're getting close to 3 minutes. You need to conclude your comments." So let people have a voice. Listen to, let them, give them the opportunity to be heard. I think that's what many people want. They just want to be heard. Well, years ago, in trying to determine how to address some of these capital needs, I had a colleague on council, Mr. Buck Kennedy, and he came up with something that was called the Revenue Savings Plan. Now, savings sounds a little misleading, but what you do is you took a percentage of growth every year and set it aside and let it grow. And then when you had big capital projects, town hall, a fire department that recently opened, the recreation center, you had some money there to help you pay that. And if you had that money coming in over time, you have money built up to help continue to pay for some of that. You have to have some type of mechanism in place, whether it's called that or we don't call it that anymore actually. There's a set aside, and then the set aside has a percentage that it grows every year. So, as I told you, we got 89 billion listed in capital improvement plan, plus there's at least twice that there, if not more. And you set aside a certain amount every year, and then you pull it out to help pay. If you don't set it aside, you'll never get anything paid for. And we have to continue doing that. You have to be conscientious to know you have got to stick money aside to pay for these projects. We've got Fire Station 2, we merged the county recently, and it's an older fire station that needs replacing. That's going to cost several $1 million. And then as we have grown, we're probably need a Fire Station 6, Fire Station 5 to open within the last year. To plan for that. And then where we're located at Town Hall, we bought 2 extra buildings beside us. One is right beside the police department. You can almost reach through the window and touch the other building. So that's there, so the police department does have a place to grow directly adjacent to where it is. That's a big help. And then one of the other buildings over there is the administration of the fire department. So for your public safety folks, you have got to make sure you have space for them and you give them the tools that they need. And technology is part of those tools. And that's setting money aside every year for those technologies, not just for Town Hall, but also for your public safety folks. Garner was one of the first towns in Wake County to have computer dash cams and computers in cars. 25, 30 years ago. Garner was one of the first ones to do that. And it's paid off. We also had the body cams, and we were one of the first ones to do that also. We support some of our community programs here in Garner. We have something called Community of Hope, which reaches out to help people in various manners. We have a Garner Area Ministries. We have Meals on Wheels has been served at our senior center since it's opened in the early 90s. I go pick up my food today, and they had seniors in there for their meals. And it's supporting those type programs. Well, we're fortunate on the water and sewer, and that Raleigh is the lowest, will always be the lowest in Wake County since we're part of their program. So they set the utility rates. We do set aside some money every year in the budget to help people who can't pay their bills. Internet, cable, and so forth, which are almost now necessities because so many kids do their homework and you have to have internet. And that's a challenge. We did have Google Fiber has been installed in Garner like it has in many other communities, so people do have more than one choice with that and AT&T and Spectrum. So it's challenging for the town. The biggest thing we can do is help directly with the utility bills, the water and sewer bills, because we offer that program to help those folks. In the budget, I was concerned that we didn't put the housing position in place. I was also concerned that in this year's budget, me and another council member and a citizen found a $1.3 million gap. There was an error, the software error. And I understand it's a software error, we were explaining about it, but human error missed it, and we caught it. And I was concerned because, you should set that money aside for some of these capital improvements, put it in the capital account. Instead of just directly spending it, we all went directly spending it on a 3-2 vote. I voted against some residential development because I thought we could do better. I think somehow we settled. Well, something else I'm proud of, you asked me that question, is I've been on served a long time, and I've got, my fingerprints, my touch, did this, did that. On so many parks, and sidewalks, that's the same parks, are two of the things I'm most proud of. We have a beautiful park down at Lake Benson Park that was started without a master plan, and got elected, chaired a committee to the master plan, and I'd seen a big walking trail one time tied some other parks. I said, like, we need to do this in our plan. I got rejection from staff, from other council members, and being the community. Nobody's gonna walk on that trail. Go down there right now and let's see how many people are walking on it. It's wonderful. And they cross over to White Deer Park, which I was on that committee also, which has one of our greenways and also some wonderful walking trails in there. So little things like that. You know, we have a beautiful recreational center on Main Street. That started as a community center back in 1994, and I chaired that. So I'm proud of the rec center. Just proud of the achievements. And we've got a new town hall, we've got a new police station, we've got multiple new fire stations since I've been here. I've been on the town council where, when I grew up here, we had one high school, now we have two. We had 4 elementary schools, now we have 8. So I'm proud that we, again, still have some of that small town feel. Our biggest event is July 3rd. We have at Levinson Park. We have the symphony and 10,000 people there, 12,000 people. We got coming up Fireman's Day, which is the first Saturday in October. Community event, that and the Christmas parade are the next 2 biggest events in town, huge events. And people like that. That gives you a sense of community. And we still have some of that sense of community. When I was at the senior center today, you still feel that, because I remember when it opened in 1990, and it's still used and it's staffed very well, it's run managed very well, and people really enjoy it. It's the first senior center in Wake County. And it's, when I worked at the hardware store, Miss Anna Hudson was in charge of that project. The deal was, the town said, we'll give you the land if you can raise the money to get it built. You don't give a group of seniors that opportunity. They got it built. Most of it was donated. Labor was donated, and they got it built. And it's a real, that's one of the best examples of what you can do here in Garner, when people want to work together. So I'm proud that Garner still has some of that fighting spirit in it to try to make Garner the best it can be.